advertisers. I am disgusted.
How do we sum up 2023 from a comic perspective? I think overall the industry probably hasn't been in the best of moods, depending on who you listen to. Some will say it's dying, some will say it's doing better than ever, some will say, well, there's never been more diverse writers and whatnot going on here. Others will say manga's still kicking the big two's ass. I'm like, well, all of this is effectively, for the most part, probably definitely true, but irrelevant here on the Bucket Think Tank, isn't it? We rarely delve into that sort of thing. I think the closest we ever did was, the discussion about woke in comic books, the SJW issue, which wasn't that in-depth. Plenty of people did better work than I did. I just wanted to get that out of there as to what constitutes a quote-unquote woke story. But 2023 for me felt like, at least where I was reading, particularly DC was in a war with itself, trying to figure out exactly how to fix itself, at least how to keep going forward after the, I want to say, lackluster attempt at rebooting itself without rebooting itself with the whole Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. I don't think it ever really lived up to the hype and the whole idea of the Justice League as we know it stepping down and leading the way for Nightwing and his Teen Titans to become the new hero status quo, I think was interesting, but often felt pretty shallow. Like, I don't think anyone really expects this to last long. We will by default see the return of the Justice League, if for no other reason. Once James Gunn's DCU or whatever gets started, there will be a Justice League movie. And then I want a Justice League comic at the same time. Maybe we'll finally get an Earth 1 Justice League book. Or maybe more Earth 1. But anyway. So with that in mind, I often looked like DC was trying to figure out what didn't work. And the person at the head of this was Joshua Williamson. As a matter of fact, if you look at DC, there seems to be this sort of weird quality control issue between Joshua Williamson, Tom Taylor, Jeremy Adams, and Philip Kennedy Johnson. For the most part, like, these are the four names you hear the most, at least from what I saw, in terms of who's doing the worst and best at DC, in terms of providing quality books. And in between is everyone else doing the best they can. So Josh Williamson's our point man, and he starts off with what honestly was one of the worst books, Night Terrors, which was also the first video where we did this particular style. So yeah, this combo is nice. Oh, look at that. Charlie Brown theme, by the way, people. Charlie Brown theme. Anyway, Night Terrors is everything I don't like about mainstream comics. This is an event to set up another event. And that means if the event doesn't work out, you really feel like you've wasted your time. Just how that rolls. At the same time, this is a good idea in its premise. The entire planet falls asleep and bombarded with nightmares. I think it would have been better had we just stepped this back here and gone with maybe a smaller scale idea with that, and do what it did do before, which is put our primary heroes in their nightmares. But then again, Bendis did this with the Black Mercy story. It's like the second time in a couple of years we've had a Black Mercy story with the Trinity, so there was that. This really should have been used to explore others, lesser-known characters and their nightmares. Bringing Deadman in for this, I felt, was a good idea, if for no other reason than Deadman is just relevant enough to the quote-unquote normies from the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, and people who read comics while got into comics with New 52 at least. You'd have seen him in Justice League Dark and by default his little stint in Trinity War. So there was that. Overall, though, nothing about this event felt like it had any staying power. We just left Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. So, I'm sorry, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'll never get tired of that. Although I keep forgetting to do it. So, who knows? So, it felt kind of unnecessary. So, yeah, it's good art. I think it was much better with the Atlantis Aquaman story in Scott Snyder's run, but still good. I think it would have been better had this been treated like Justice League No Justice, where this story here catapults a bunch of other titles from it. And I don't think that was ever the vibe I got from this book. Adventures of Superman John Kent. So we all know how I feel about John Kent. Old Johnny K. I don't like him. I used to like him. Like, if anything, I adopted John Kent into my life. And now I'm taking him back. John Kent, as an adult, is just kind of dull. Like, he's... some would say he's woke. No, Tom Taylor's Superman Son of Kal-El book was woke in the fact that it brought up a lot of interesting ideas that were never explored. It was all about the grandstanding and making himself feel better. That's pretty much it. That's a woke story, at least how I define it. Could be wrong. If you have a different definition for it, let me know. But for me, it's all virtue and no effort. It's enough that I let you know it's bad that this stuff is happening, and not enough to inform you exactly why it's bad, what's creating it, and possible solutions to fix it. Alright? Here we have a good idea. The premise was simple, alright? John Kent is going to throw it down with Ultraman, the man who tortured him, alright? Held him prisoner on Earth 3 for, what was it, 10 years? 10 or 7 years? Leading to the John Kent we know now. And rarely do we ever see John dealing with that. But this is his abuser who looked just like his dad. So it's weird that John doesn't have some sort of issue with this. He seems to have issues with Bruce, which is weird. But here when he finds that Ultraman is going around killing different Supermen across the multiverse, he's like, I gotta put a stop to him. I am technically the Superman of this Earth, since Dad is off on World, or somewhere, I don't know. So he goes there, and within the first issue, Injustice, Ultraman is taken out, and we find ourselves in the Injustice universe. And there, it's just dull. John gets another power. He spent some time in the Injustice universe. Like, I think I understand exactly what's going on here. I'm the only one that is sane. Which technically isn't untrue, because in the Injustice universe. But I never quite get the feeling there's any real effort put into that story. John already seems to know what the right course of action is. And he comes out of it sort of going like, this is why Dad doesn't get involved. This is why he doesn't do more. Which didn't make sense. This Superman, and just Superman, does more because in his mind when he didn't, that's what led to him being tricked into killing his pregnant wife, Lois. Superman, our Superman, Earth Prime Superman, doesn't do more because he feels that isn't his job. Maybe the cross point is the reason he doesn't do more is because he knows it'll go that far, like that far to fascism. Right, where if Superman decides to go in, like there's a fun little story, a good number of years ago, where it's election time in the DC universe, and Superman goes out like, hey, I personally feel that superheroes shouldn't endorse candidates because people won't vote for them. They'll vote for them because Superman endorsed them, not because they believe in the candidates or the policies. Like, well, Superman said it, so it must be right. Ironically, this story, that's a better take on, well, what less it sort of was in Captain America Steve Rogers. The idea that you should question authority. Just because Captain America says it's good doesn't mean it automatically is. Or just because he's Cap doesn't mean he should be given extra powers, i.e. the SHIELD Act. But overall, Road to Injustice was sort of more of the same. We're not going to push John. We're not going to have him deal with anything that requires any more nuance or introspection on his character. He's going to be pretty much the same. And he's just going to go about being the best him he can be. The only character that actually seemed to have an interesting story starting to go was, ironically, Injustice Superman. But nothing good comes from that either. Like, nothing comes from it. And nothing can change this. Like, Injustice Superman has to still be Injustice Superman. Alright? So whatever John tells him can't stick. Because if it sticks, then he has to change his mind, and then the Injustice storyline ends. And even though Tom Taylor wrote on Injustice, doesn't mean he gets to end the story yet. Hot Girl. So I quit this after 2 issues, and I feel bad about that. Kind of, sort of, not really. The truth is, I love Kendra Saunders. I love Shira Hall. You know, I got into the character from the Justice League cartoon, like most people who weren't reading comics at the time. And then I read more of her in some Justice League of America comics. There was a lot in Jeff Johns' Hawkman. She has her own. She has like a bit of a comic run that I haven't found time to read yet, but I was interested. I'm okay. Let's see what the new take on her is. And she's sad, she's kind of confused, she's meeting a friend from college who grew up pretty much pretty religious, then came out of the closet, well, no, pretty religious, and a wallflower, got married, got divorced, came out of the closet, considering transitioning, hates the cops. This is all too much for one character to be. Okay, so she's our token LGBTQ reference. All right, I'm not a big fan of it because it's too much for one character to represent, but whatever. And then what? We have a superhero, all right, who is also a trans lesbian, trans female lesbian. And I thought, is that necessary? We already have one here. And I'm not saying you can't have two, but they're two also unrelated characters, and the one there, the superhero one, has a girlfriend. So, like, why do we need all three? Like, what does this have to do with the story? Turns out that character was a character that this person, was it Axel Alonso? I don't know. I don't know. It's not Axel Alonso. That was a character from a comic he wrote that apparently didn't get off the ground. So he's just carrying around his old OCs, hoping they'll stick with DC. In other words, he's trying to pull a punchline, which was really just pulling a Harley Quinn. So, whatever. And look where punchline's going. This, to me, was not enough to stop reading the book, but it just... I didn't feel like I could follow the story in an interesting enough way. I'm like, okay, she's sad, she's confused. What? Just talk to Connor. Talk to Carter. Talk to Carter. All right. Talk to Qatar. Well, this isn't hard. You have a support group. Everyone's like, hey, what are you doing? And I just no, nothing about this character is that interesting. In this book, I think Hawkgirl's a character where her relationships and dynamics carry her because really she doesn't really have an interesting rogues gallery. That is unique to her, so you really doesn't need those interesting relationship dynamics, and they aren't here in this story. So, 2 issues in, I was like, I'm not getting what I need from this. So this was on, I think, last year, the year before, and this is my least favorite Pokemon Adventure story, and oddly enough, because I'm indifferent to the game, I felt the game was a total wasted opportunity, which I think most people feel. But this was the first time I just did like the protagonist. Well, I like it. I like Y to an extent. Shauna, Tierno, and I still have no idea who the ginger's name is. Okay. That being said, I think there was a potential to flesh out, which is what all the Pokemon Adventure stories do. They flesh everything out, so they explore those ideas, and the story is so much better. Like, Pokemon Yellow has an actual story. that didn't happen in the game. The Ruby Sapphire story was phenomenal. All right, Diamond and Pearl, way too long, which is weird because Ruby and Sapphire is longer. Black and White, I have to go back to that one to really wrap my head around it, but I liked it for the most part. Here, first of all, XC and YE, trash names. Pokemon, never do this again with names, alright? I'm not mad at Hidenori, alright? He's just doing what he's always been doing. Hey, and what the Pokemon game's doing. Hey, these two games, yeah, our protagonists, that's their name too, alright? And red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, ruby, sapphire, emerald, diamond, pearl, platinum, black, white. There was no sequel. There was no third game, alright? This was always going to happen, alright? But XC and YE, I mean, what are they going to do? I guess you could just give them actual X names. Like, names that actually start with X. Xavier. I guess you could have Xander start with an X. I think Xander does start with an X. Yvette. I mean, it's French. So, yes, could have done that. Xanatos. No. No, we can't have some 10-year-old kid named Xanatos. That'd be so weird. But overall, I just couldn't get into the story. Like, a lot of great moments. But really, I wasn't invested in X story. I wasn't invested in Y story. This is an example of too many characters here. Like, you can't sell me the idea that I should care about X's problem. It was interesting for a while, but the fact that his friends have to carry him around because he doesn't want to talk to people, as they're all, trying to deal with the fact their town was, like, destroyed and the adults were taken. Like, the city's held hostage. Like, I don't want to go out. Like, dude, this is not the time. All right, no, we should have skipped that by at least the second volume. But whatever. This is a weird one. This one kind of hurts. Justice Society of America. So I like the JSA. Actually, I love the JSA. I think I'm not sure if I've said it here, but I've often told people the Justice League is where you go to be a hero, like to just like to do that. But the JSA is where you go to learn to be a hero, and I think that is sort of the beauty of it. This story here isn't about that. This is about a time-traveling Nazi who's going around killing different iterations of the JSA. And Helena Wayne, and not the Earth 2 Helena Wayne, not the Helena Bertinelli. This is Helena Wayne from 20 years plus in the future. Yeah, this is actually the daughter of Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle from the Prime Earth. But due to time travel, courtesy of our time-traveling Nazi, she is now stuck in the present day. And no one wants to deal with her. The JSA is like, look, you might as well stay here. Because Bruce is like, you can't stay in Gotham City. Like, hell to the no. Alright, which is also sad, because in the Earth 2 book, the Helena Wayne from there had her own book, World's Finest, with Power Girl, and she had to deal with the fact that not only did she secretly meet Damian Wayne, and they formed a relationship being, Robins and siblings, she grieved his death, and at the same time couldn't tell Bruce / Batman about who she really was. And now here they are again, and it's just yeah. This story is not what I wanted. Jeff Johns sold this book as an amazing idea, talking about the legacy of the character. I don't feel the legacy there. There are times when I do, but not enough to warrant this book being here. It's not bad. It's possibly the most disappointing book I was excited about. Until, of course, this one came out. Batman, Catwoman, Gotham Gore. Okay, so we have a Civil War event in Gotham City. I thought, well, it's like the one thing that hasn't happened in Gotham, so why not? And it's between Catwoman and Batman. I'm like, alright. So we're furthering this idea that these two don't work. That's all I learned from this entire event here, as this stupid yet interesting idea of Selina training thugs, henchmen, to steal from the rich, alright? And hey, a percentage goes to charity, and they don't kill people, and violent crime goes down, but actual crime still stays relatively the same, alright? And Selina's whole argument is, well, they're rich people, they can afford it. I'm like, and people knock Bruce for this, like, my parents were rich. I'm like, he's pretty much saying that Thomas and Martha Wayne were the nicest people out there. To say that it's all right to steal from them because they're rich is stupid. And even more so, again, like, it's a whole conversation of exactly who's it all right to steal from. And the fact that most of the Bat family is like, this sounds all right. This sounds all right. Because, they're not helping the Joker. They're not helping Mad Hatter. They're not... Okay. They can outsource, right? Like, this doesn't fix the problem. And what's interesting about this is that ultimately that story doesn't matter. Like, the whole issue doesn't matter. This debate about who's it right to steal from, not to steal from, the rich versus the poor, the haves versus the have-nots, what kind of crime are we willing to accept for a safer society? None of that matters, because this is really about Batman's descent into madness, alright? Courtesy of Zer and Arch. And, okay, fine, that's what Zdarsky wants from this. So what does Senior Howard want from this? Senior Howard wants to give more Catwoman dialogue, alright? Which, if you read enough Catwoman, you'll realize the story is 99% Catwoman dialogue, because Selina never really learns a lesson, alright? And I think it's kind of frustrating, but whatever. So Selina here is like, oh, I love Bruce, but I believe this is the right way to go. And he's like, DC has not been nice to Selina Kyle ever since Tom King had her leave Batman at the altar. Alright, because after that, they got married. She then revealed that she was part of a plan, that she had a plan to take all of his money from him before they got together, like years before they got together. Then, after that, and Bruce's like, okay, fine. After he loses money, she basically says, yeah, I'm out. And then she's still sleeping around with other dudes. And Bruce's like, okay, fine. And now she's doing this. And then she throws like, the reason we couldn't get married. I'm like, no, you don't get to do that. First of all, the real problem was the fact that, as Sal from Comic Pop pointed out, they can get married in Atlantis, they get married on any planet, they get married on Themyscira. Like, the issue is Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle can't be publicly married because Selina Kyle is a murderer and because a bunch of other stuff. But, that's just like to the public eye. They could get married anywhere else, and no one would talk about it. So yeah, this was sort of the highlight of bad comics for me. Really, it's still this because it just pretty much set everything else in motion. But this was actually these two stories are pretty much the same. They are stories to set up something else. This sets up the whole Doctor Hate thing, Amanda Waller and her crap left over from Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, and this is to further Zdarsky's story of Batman Zernar, which I personally am sort of enjoying it, at least on an idea basis. How this will play out, I'm still not sure. So we'll see. So what are the gems? What was the stuff that really kept me going in the comic world today? So Superboy. So this was interesting because I am super casual about Superboy. I really am. By the time I got to Superboy, the Superboy comic I read was Infinite Crisis. So I read the story where he died. And then New 52 happens. Superboy, well, Connor Kent, Connell, as we know him, is nowhere to be found. All right? There was this other one going out. I never figured out who he was. I think I have all the Superman New 52 comics. I can read that now. I figured out what that was. And the clone Titans thing died later, so it didn't matter. Then he came back in Young Justice with Brian Michael Bendis, and as a Brian Michael Bendis. So yeah, as you do. So there was really nothing else for him. I think he was in the Revenge Squad story with Superman. We talked about it in our Comic Run Talk video. But really there was nothing else there for him to do. And this story sort of points out, like, hey, I really kind of don't matter. Like, he's the unwanted member of the family, if you think about it. As a matter of fact, his first issue starts with him feeling like he doesn't belong. All right, and that sucks because John Tenney is feeling the same way with the two new kids coming in. Like, he's missed out on so much of his childhood with his parents that to see those kids getting their childhood, he feels something about it. And Connor feels, again, like the odd one out. All right, the fact that he wasn't asked to be Superman, I think, sort of stings a little, but he's sort of been all right with the fact that, he'll be Superman one day. But what does John Kent say about that? In a perfect world, John Kent would have never been aged up, and when Superman goes up to World, he would have left Connor to look after John, and that would have been more interesting. All right, we'd have seen a proper sort of mentor-mentee relationship rivaling that of possibly Nightwing and Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne in the Batman and Robin Brave and the Bold. Was it this Batman and Robin comic? Where Dick Grayson was Batman to Damian being Robin, and that was a great dynamic. I'd have loved to see that dynamic play out here. But it didn't, so Connor, feeling lost and directionless, goes on an adventure to find himself of self-discovery. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. I think it may help endear people to John. I think it will help, maybe help older readers sort of slip back into familiarity with the character. But overall, I don't think anything else is going to come from it, which I think is sad. So I'm hoping more comes from this book, and maybe even this writer. Stargirl and the Lost Children is everything I wanted from Justice Society of America, which is weird because it doesn't really do Justice Society of America that well. But the Lost Legacy of Sidekicks is a really cool idea, because at one point everyone had sidekicks, except me. I can't afford them. But seeing that idea, these legacy era hero sidekicks who would have one day probably grown up to be the mentor, like the first Mr. Terrific has a sidekick. So by default, had things gone on, he would have probably been the second Mr. Terrific before Michael Holt. All right, we have Judy Garrick, who would have been the Flash after Jay. We have Salem the Witch Girl, who probably would have taken the Fate helmet after Kent Nelson, had Kent Nelson's life not been a total train wreck. There's that, and the idea of what this life does to you. It's a very frightening sort of thinking about that these are kids. In reality, there's only been like two sidekicks who really sort of stood the test of time. That's Robin and Bucky. Really, that's it. What do the sidekicks really matter at the end of the day? All right, Speedy is here and there and everywhere. Wally was gone for New 52. Garth? Yeah, right. Donna Troy. Okay, we're gonna stop. Cassie's. No, I'm bad for that one. Impulse. Okay. Super. Yeah. See, look, that's just DC alone. I don't think Marvel does sidekicks. Technically, Miles would have been a sidekick in the Spider-Verse continuity, but whatever. Overall, though, this was fun. This was nice. I would like to see more of it, but really, I think Stargirl is a great ambassador for the JSA, and I would like to see more of that going forward. Also, better updates from books by Jeff Johns. The One Bad Day series was fun. It really was. Some hits, some misses. I chose Penguin because he was my favorite. Seeing Penguin retake his empire has always been fun. I just now realized that's the Umbrella Man who's going to take his empire from him. So, yeah, nothing more to say about that. I think the problem is the One Bad Day sort of missed the point of how the Killing Joke and the One Bad Day concept works. The One Bad Day is supposed to be what defines or what made that character the character. Alright? Oddly enough, Tom King got that. I don't think anyone else sort of got that idea. They sort of went with the route of, hey, this One Bad Day is going to be the day where the bad guy takes a sort of victory over Batman. And no one really got that. I think out of all of it, Riddler got it. Technically, Tom King just flat out tried to do his own take on the Killing Joke. John Ridley's Penguin really got that, and the Ra's al Ghul story, was it also written by John Ridley? I don't think so. Overall, though, really fun. The Penguin sort of summed it up here, especially when Penguin goes like, "Look, you do know how this works, right?" Oh, you don't. Okay, so I'm the reason you've ever won anything. All right, so Riddler needs some question marks or some stuff for his traps. The Joker needs some toxin. Freeze needs a freeze gun. Mad Hatter needs hats. Well, he got them for me. But I always gave them just enough. Never too much. Just enough to push you, but never too much that you couldn't win. So I hate to tell you this. You live in my world. Gotham City is my world, and I'm going to take it back tonight and deal with the mess you can't deal with. That I also created. But it's neither here nor there. And seeing Penguin build himself up like that, I'm like, yeah, there we go. There we go. That's my man Oswald. All right. Oswald J. Cobblepot. All right. Up. Down low, man. There we go. All right. Overall, that was fun. It was sort of everything I wanted from this story. And I would like... I'm not going to see more of it, but I like when Penguin gets the love and attention he deserves. So I have a love-hate relationship with Doctor Strange. It is a good book, a bit failing in some areas. But overall, Jed McKay does a great job. I like the dynamic he has with Clea. It's nice to know some of us can always hook up with our exes. Granted, all Strange had to do was die, and then have another version of him come back to get his affairs in order. One of the affairs was hooking back up with his ex, which led to her becoming Doctor Strange, and then saying, like, you know what, I'm bringing my man back, and then hilarity ensues, and there we go. So, yeah, weird, but I loved it. It was strange, so to speak. Yes, I know, I'm terrible and degenerate, but you're here anyway. So, finally, we have Disney villain Scar. Actually, not finally, I'm lying to you all. The Disney villain series for the comic was hit and miss, but I appreciate the effort. Maleficent was trash. I'm sorry. It was pretentious, but it was trash. All right, watching Maleficent do nothing is not why people enjoy Sleeping Beauty. It's not why people enjoy Maleficent as a character. They like her because every time she turns around, some baby is going to die. All right, that is it, and that's beautiful. That is chef's kiss. Hades isn't done. All right, apparently there's one more issue. Hades spent the entire time messing stuff up, and I love Hades for that. But he's not done yet, and he could totally ruin it with that last issue. So all it leaves is Scar. Scar is petty. I love Scar when he's petty. It's the only reason people like Scar. He's petty. He thinks he's good at a job he hasn't done before. It works. You've all worked with someone who thinks they're better suited for a job than you are. All right? You all have. I sometimes am that person. But anyway, Scar is great because he spends the entire time bitching about his life. And then a bunch of vultures say, we can capitalize on his pettiness. Either he'll be king, or he'll die. He'll either cause chaos, we'll eat the chaos, or he'll die, and we'll eat Scar. It works out. There we go. So, points of Disney villain series. Apparently Cruella de Vil's next, and I'm tired of that. I don't want a justification as to why a woman wants a coat made of puppies. Alright? Avatar Last Airbender. Azula has a story. Azula gets a redemption arc. What's her redemption arc? She realizes she has problems. Those problems are your problem. And I love her for that. Alright? The Avatar Last Airbender graphic novels never let me down. The Korra ones do, though. That's neither here nor there, no. But anyway, this is great. If you're an Azula fan like most of you simps are, you will enjoy it. Alright? I could take or leave Azula sometimes. But I know whenever she's there, Zuko's going to get stressed out. And I know you other simps love when Zuko starts to cry. Gargoyles by Greg Wiseman. Let me tell you something. I greatly regret not being able to read Gargoyles when it came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm guessing that was the time period, because I have no idea. But when it was announced to be coming back, I'm like, why? That's how Greg Wiseman. I'm like, I'm in. And this is great. Continuing where the series left off, when Greg Wiseman left, was great. So we technically ignored an entire season, where Greg Wiseman gets to show off that he's better than anything else Disney could have done. Why there's a live-action Gargoyles cartoon in the works, I don't know. Horrible mistake. Disney, do better. But then again, Disney should be doing better by default, but they're not. So, whatever. Either way, Goliath, Angela, Brooklyn, Broadway, Lexington, Hudson. Oh my god, they're all here. It works. It's beautiful. Alright, Keith David's in jail. Not really. I didn't realize there was an Asian mafia in New York in the comic. We know it's here. We know it's in New York, presumably. Elisa confessing her feelings under a court of law was beautiful and stressful, but whatever, it was great. I look forward to the rest of it. Dawn of DC, Superman. It is always fun to see Superman be on top of here. Oddly enough, Batman did not have a book that I considered for this list here. And that is weird, but at the same time, I'm okay with it. Why? Because this is a good Superman book. We've been waiting for a good Superman book. Philip Kennedy Johnson did a great job, but he was all into the whole world story. And then the whole thing sort of not fell apart, but had the whole horrible idea of John Kent being Superman for a bit, and no one really liked it. Everyone just said it was great because John is bisexual, or gay, or something. He kissed a dude. I don't care. But here, we get everything that I like about a Superman story. We're in Metropolis, Lex is being petty, but helping. We get the Daily Planet. This is sort of what I think everyone wants from a Superman story. And Superman being OP, and that not being the point of the story, is great. And finally, we have Yes, You Know, Because I Am Pathetic, Scrooge McDuck, The Dragon of Glasgow. Was this story great? It was alright. But I'm a Scrooge stan. This is it. Someone taking the Don Rosa Life and Times sandbox, saying, I can play in this, and play around with it, using the money bin from the 87 DuckTales cartoon, is brilliant. I love it. I'm here for it. Could have been better in some places, but then again, all stories can be better in some places. There's rarely a perfect comic book. I haven't read it. The Snagglepuss Chronicles. But anyway, no, the art ruined the Snagglepuss Chronicles. But anyway, hoof fingers. Never again. But this story was great, going into Scrooge's childhood, an era that is never really explored. Using Matilda as a narrator for this is great, because we as the readers are sort of left to interpret exactly how Scrooge's relationship with Aaron is. Is it platonic? Is it romantic? Does Scrooge just have this sort of affinity for theater that he never got to explore? And of course, that last page at the end of Scrooge looking down from the top, holding a picture of him and Aaron as the comic ends, was really worth it. And you know what? That's it. So this was a good year for me. Honestly, I was on the Box Remarks podcast. I'd like to think I helped out there. I think if anything, I'm just grateful to be a part of it, as well as the Rose Remarks podcast. We hit 400. Well, we passed 400, so thanks you to everyone. Apparently, you all like seeing my face. I think you all need better taste in faces. I'm going to say it right now. We have some projects coming in. Two that you know we owe you. We do owe you. The Comic Run Talk, which we're going to do with the new OBS system, which I think is just more comfortable with. And then we have Who's Going to Kill Joker next. Remember the whole rule for that is it can't be Batman. We did Wonder Woman. We have next one coming up soon. And yeah, so anyway, with that in mind, before I forget, our Funko for the video. If you recall, good people, we did 11th Doctor retrospective, so we have our 11th Doctor Funko. Alright, this is not the one I actually always wanted. I wanted the purple one with the coat, but that's more expensive. This was like $10. I'm in. You work with what you got. Also, bow tie is still cool, and he has the Sonic, so it all works out. So anyway, with that in mind, let's bring us to a close here. If you're new to the Bug Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is the Bug Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.